بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. عن ابن عمر رضي الله عنه أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم كان يرفع يديه حذو منكبيه وإذا افتتح الصلاة وإذا كبر للركوع وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع رفعه ما كذلك وقال سمع الله لمن حمد ربنا لك الحمد وكان لا يفعل ذلك في السجود متفق عليه. Narrated by Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, mentioned Nabi Akram used to raise his hands in line with his shoulders, uh, and when he used to open up and start the salah, and when he would say takbir for ruku, and when he would raise his head from ruku, he would raise them like that. In other words, it shows Rafi Yadain in these three. This is a Talif Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi. Right. فقال and he would say Sami Allahu liman hamida Rabbana lakal hamd, and he never used to do that in sujood. Right. So firstly, you see here now that Sami Allahu liman hamida Rabbana lakal hamd. Imam Bani wa rahmatullah alayhi say when it comes to the munfarid, the person reading salah alone, then he will recite both. But when it comes to Jamaat salah, then the Imam will recite Sami Allahu liman hamida, and the Muqtadis will recite Rabbana lakal hamd. And however, Sahibain say the Imam will recite Sami Allahu liman hamida and Rabbana lakal hamd. The Muqtadis will only say Rabbana lakal hamd. Right. And he never used to do that in sujood, means that just as when saying takbir tahrima, would raise his hands, uh, or going to ruku, and when coming up from ruku, he would raise his hands. He never used to do that in sujood. In others, he never used to raise his hands after coming up from sajda. والنافع رضي الله عنهما أن ابن عمر النافع رضي الله عنه أن ابن عمر كان إذا دخل في الصلاة كبر ورفع يديه وإذا ركع رفع يديه وإذا قال سمع الله لمن حمده رفع يديه وإذا قام من الركعتين رفع يديه ورفع ذلك ابن عمر إلى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رواه البخاري. Narif Hazrat Nafi rahmatullah alayhi. Yeah, he's the Tabi'i, right? Student of Hazrat Ibn Umar. That Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, when he used to enter into Salah, he would recite Takbir and raise his hands. And when he would make ruku, he would raise his hands. When he said Sami Allahu Alhamdulillah, he would raise his hands. And when he stands up from two rakats, he would raise his hands. And Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu made this hadith marfu to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He attributes this to Nabi Kareem sallallahu alaihi wasallam. وعن مالك بن الحويرث رضي الله عنه قال كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا كبر رفع يديه حتى يحاذي بهما أذنيه وإذا رفع رأسه من الركوع فقال سمع الله لمن حمده فعل مثل ذلك وفي رواية حتى يحاذي بهما فروع أذنيه متفق عليه. Narrated from Malik ibn Huwais radiallahu anhu said that Nabi Akram when he would say takbir, he would raise his hands until he would make it in line with his ears. And when he would raise his head from ruku, then he would say Sami Allahu Hamida. He would do the likeness of that. He not to raise his hand. And in a riwayat, until he would make it them in line, his two hands in line, with the bottom, with the tip of his ears. You understand it? Right. Let's see. So Hanaf ulama, they make that big of all these ahadiths. Yeah, right? And they would say sometimes Nabi Karim would make Rafa Yadain and sometimes he would not make. Or they would say that initially he used to do Rafa Yadain and afterwards he never used to do Rafa Yadain, and he would only make Rafa Yadain at the time of Takbir Tahrima. Right, and there's a long discussion here of Rafa Yadain, right, which we will skip. Right. وأنه وأنه أنه رأى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم يصلي فإذا كان في وتر من صلاته لم ينهض حتى يستوي قاعدا رواه البخاري. And this is also from Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu. And Malik ibn Huwairis. And Malik ibn Huwairis that he saw Nabi Akram making salah. Then when he was in an odd number of his salah, in other words, after the first rakat or after the third rakat, right? He would not raise until he would sit at ease. Narba Bukhari. So this is called Jalsai Istirahat, where you sit after one or after three for 1-2 seconds and then you get up. Right. According to Imam Shafi rahmatullah alayhi, Jalsa Istirahat is sunnat. And how do you do it? You just sit down and then you stand. Then when you stand up, you take support with your hands. right? Imam Abu Hanifa and Imam Ahmad rahmatullah alayhi, they say, right, Jalsa Istirahat was done when Nabi Akram was old and weak. Therefore, they say that person who doesn't need to do Jalsa Istirahat, then it's not sunnat for him. Yes, if he's old and weak, he can do Jalsa Istirahat. Imam Shafi Rahman's Dalil is just hadith here, right? And Imam Abu Hanifa Rahman's Dalil is as Abu Hurairah Jalan's riwayat, which it comes in Tirmizi, that Nabi Karim Sallam used to get up on the soles of his feet. In other words, he would stand up straight. All right. Although some of the turuks of that hadith is za'if, however, the hadith, because there's many, is sahih. Right. Right. وعن وائل بن حجر رضي الله عنه رأى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم رفع يديه حين دخل في الصلاة كبر ثم التحف بثوبه ثم وضع يده اليمنى على اليسرى فلما أراد أن يركع أخرج يديه من الثوب ثم رفعهما وكبر فركع فلما قال سمع الله لمن حمده رفع يديه فلما سجد بين كفيه رواه مسلم. Ibn Ibn Hujr saw Nabi Akram raising his hand when he entered in Salah, and he would say the takbir. Then he put his hands inside the shawl. Sumal tahafa bisawbi, put his hands inside the shawl. Then he would place his right hand on top of his left hand. Then when he intended to make ruku, he would take his hands out from the cloth, from the shawl, and then he would raise them and he would say takbir and he would make ruku. And when he said Sami Allahu liman hamida, he would raise his hands, and when he would make sajda, he would make sajda between his palms. All right. So Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, yeah, although some say that he never covered his hands, rather he never kept his hands inside his clothes. However, he just the sleeves covered his hands, right? However, the other ulama say that Nabi Karim Sam would keep his hands inside because of extreme cold. All right. Then after takbir tahrima, to fold your hands, right? So this is a unanimous masla. Only Imam Malik rahmatullah alayhi says to leave your hands on the side is better. But folding it is also permissible even according to him. Right. Then we have here right. So folding the hands here now, they say this is more respectful. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah has chosen this because it's more respectful, and especially doing it below the navel, and it indicates to more respect. Right. What we also learn from this hadith is that if your hands are inside, then when you need to do takbir and you need to raise your hands and you need to take him out of the shawl and do the takbir. You understand it? You shouldn't do it while it's inside and wrapped up. وعن سهل بن سعد رضي الله قال كان الناس يؤمرون أن يضع الرجل اليد اليمنى على ذراع اليسرى في الصلاة رواه البخاري. Sahal ibn Sa'd said that people used to be ordered that the man should place his right hand upon his left hand in Salah, Nabi Bukhari, right? Yeah. Yeah, so that shows there because just as a person would stand with respect in front of a king, you understand, then he would keep his hands folded so that, and he would lower his head. So likewise, when standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a person keeps his hands folded and lowering his head. وَنَبِي هُرَيْرَةَ رَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُ قَالَ رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا قام إلى الصلاة يكبر حين يقوم ثم يكبر حين يركع ثم يقول سمع الله لمن حمده حين يرفع صلبه من الركعة ثم يقول وهو قائم ربنا لك الحمد ثم يكبر حين يهوي ثم يكبر حين يرفع رأسه ثم يكبر حين يسجد ثم يكبر حين يرفع رأسه ثم يفعل ذلك في الصلاة كلها حتى يقضيها ويكبر حين يقوم من السنتين بعد الجلوس متفق عليه. Narrated by Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu said that Nabi Karim Sallam, when you stand up for Salah, you say takbir when you stand. Then when you stand up for Salah, you would say takbir, right? When you stood. Then you would say takbir when you would make ruku. Then you would say Sami Allahu liman hamida when you would raise his back up from then you would say Sami Allahu hamida. And when he would raise his back up from the rakat, then you would say while he was standing Rabbana from the ruku, that would mean when he would raise his back from the ruku. Then you would say while he's standing Rabbana lakal hamd. Then you would say takbir when you would go down. Then you would say takbir when you would raise his head. Then you would say takbir when you would go back into sajda. Then you would say takbir when you would raise his head. All right. So that would be the whole rakat now. Then you would do like that in the entire salah until you would finish it. And you would say takbir when you would stand up from 2 rakats after sitting. Right. In this hadith here we see now this actually supports the ahnaf, that in this hadith it shows takbir tahrima, right, ruku, sujud, sajda, everything. They would say the takbirs, but they wouldn't. There was no mention of raising the hands. So that's ahnaf's dalil, right? وعن جابر رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أفضل الصلاة طول القنوت رواه مسلم. Jabir رضي الله عنه said, Nabi Akram said, the best of salah is that which have the longest standing. From this hadith here we come to know that long standing, right, brings most reward. And to read long surahs, that is bring most reward. The ulama have ikhtilaf here, right? Is longer standing better or more sajdas better? Some say more sajdas are better, and the others say longer standing is better. And the dalil is that when you're standing longer, you're reading more Quran. And you're making more sajdas, you're making more tasbih. And the Quran has virtue over the tasbih. You got it now? Okay, leave it mentally now. It's a long hadith here now.